Hello everybody and welcome back. In the previous lessons, we have been learning how Django handles templates and URLs. But what makes a website look beautiful? It's the static files, the CSS styles, the images, and the JavaScript. In today's lesson, we'll learn how to configure static files in Django. I'll show you how to add your own CSS styles and images so that your Django pages are not just functional, but also visually appealing. First, we'll understand the basic configuration, how Django knows where to find your static files, and then we'll build a small example project with a custom CSS file that styles a home page. So let's jump right in. Let's begin by understanding what static files are and how Django manages them. Static files are simply the files that do not change, like your CSS, JavaScript, and images. Every website uses them for layout, interactivity, and branding. Whenever you add colors, fonts, layouts, or logos to your Django app, they all come from static files. Django does not generate these dynamically. It just serves them directly to the browser. That's why we need to properly configure where Django can find and serve these files. So the first step is to configure the files. Let's see how we can configure static files in Django. Firstly, you have to configure your settings.py file. The static_URL defines the URL prefix. This means when your browser requests any static content, it will look under this path. So that is the path that we have specified here. Then the static files_dirs. This tells Django where to find your static files in the project. So usually we create a folder named static in the root of the project and store all the CSS, JavaScript, and the images there. So this is a piece of code that you have to put in your settings.py file. Now let's look at the folder structure. This is what your folder structure should look like. The static folder lives in the project level, not inside your app. Inside it, we usually organize subfolders like CSS, JS, images, and so on. So you can create one folder for storing all your CSS files like this, and one folder for your JavaScript files, and one folder for your images, and so on. Now Django automatically looks here when you use static files in your templates. Now let's see how to use static files in templates. To use static files in a Django template, you must first load the static template using the load static tag as you see here. The syntax is open curly brace, %, and load static, then %, and close curly brace. Then you can refer to your files using the static tag. Like for example, you see here, again using that similar kind of syntax, you say static and then the file that you are referring to. So here I want to access my CSS file here. So we saw that CSS files are stored inside a CSS folder within the static folder. So that is why I specify CSS/ the name of my CSS file, which is style.css, and then close the tag here. And also here you can see I want to make use of the images. So here again I say static, and then images were stored inside the images folder within the static folder. So that's why images/ the name of the image that you want to use. For example, logo.png. So you enclose it within single quotes and then it is enclosed within these tags. Now when you do this, Django will automatically generate the correct URL for your static file. Now why do we need to configure static files? Properly configuring static files help you keep all your styles and assets organized. And it also ensures that all your pages look consistent and work correctly when deployed to a live server. Now let's see all of them in action with a simple project that uses a custom CSS file and image on the CodeChef platform. So here I have an example project set up for you on the CodeChef platform. If you look at the file explorer, you can see that there is a project called My Site and an app called home. Now we have the settings.py file of the project which is open here, and before we move ahead, let me also show you this static folder. Now you see the static folder is in the project level, and under this I have created two subfolders, one for the CSS, and if you expand this you can see I have a style.css file here, and another one for images, and if I expand this you can see the image is stored over here, Django.png. This is one image that I want to make use of in this project. Okay, and also if I expand this home app, you can see that there is a templates folder here under which I have the template called home.html, which is the template that we are going to make use of in our project. Now let's look at each of the files one by one, starting from the settings.py file. Now in the settings.py file, if you scroll down, you can see that at the very end of this file, I have put this code, static URL and the static files dirs, which I showed you earlier. So we have defined our static URL and told Django where our static folder lives. This ensures Django knows how to find and serve our CSS and images when we load the web page. So this is an important part that you have to write in your settings.py file. Then we have the style.css. I'm not going to the details of the style.css. It is a CSS file which is going to just define the look and feel of our website. Then I have this home.html file, which is a template that we are going to use. Now, the very important thing in the template is, as I told you, we have to begin by loading the static tag using this load static tag. So this is very important. Only when you load this by using the load static tag, this template will be able to access all the static files that our project has. Now, this is a simple home page where we have some title and some messages like welcome to my Django site. This is a simple home page styled with a custom CSS and stuff like that. And here I want to make use of the CSS that we have. So if you look here, I am trying to access the CSS here, and when I access the CSS, I have to make use of this static tag over here. So here it says open curly brace %symbol static, and this is the location of my CSS file. So as I told you, CSS files are inside that CSS folder within the static folder. So CSS/style.css, which is the name of our CSS file. And also here I want to show that image Django.png, which I showed you, which lives inside that image folder within the static folder. So here it says static, and within single quotes I give the location of the image, which is image/Django.png. Now if I show you the views.py file quickly, this is a simple view which has just one function or one view which takes a request and it renders the home.html template which we have over here. Now looking at the urls.py file, again in urls.py file we can see that there is just one path that we have defined here apart from the admin, which is for the home. So this is the root. When somebody accesses it, we will be calling the home view. So let me run this and show you how it works. Okay, before that let me also just show you that image that we had under this images folder, Django.png. This is the image that we have stored inside our images folder. Now let me run the project. Now when I click on the run button, you see the server has started and our project has loaded here, and you can see that the custom CSS that we defined has shown up here on the web page, and also this image that we refer to is also showing up correctly on the web page. So we see that whatever static files that we had which were stored inside the static folder, Django understood where to look for it because we configured it in the settings.py file, and then in the template, which is the home.html, we configured everything correctly. We loaded the static files, we referred to the CSS and the image which came up correctly in our home page here. So our Django page is now styled beautifully using our own CSS and image, all managed through the Django's static file system. And the best part, when we deploy this project or make changes, Django automatically knows how to handle these static assets. Awesome! You just learned how to configure and use static files in Django. Now your Django apps can look much more professional with custom CSS, JavaScript, and images. Now remember these key steps that we studied. Number 1, add your static URLs and static file dirs in the settings.py file. Number 2, Create a static directory for your CSS, JavaScript, and images at the project level. And number 3, load static files in the templates using the load static tag that we have seen. Now make sure to try the CodeChef practice problem that is available for this lesson on the CodeChef platform. It will help you solidify these concepts hands-on. So keep practicing, and I will see you in the next one.